Hi, my name is Winslet, and welcome to my video covering the 23rd Dev Diary for Age of Wonders 4. This one is covering Empires and Ashes, Reavers. Empires and Ashes is the new DLC that they announced yesterday, and Reavers is the new culture. There's a lot of great information here. They started off by talking about the story realms and how there's going to be the return of, I think, Edward, and I think it was a spell person, Laryssa maybe, to the storyline, and we're getting two realms to play around with. The first one seemed to be focused a little bit on the avian form. I think this is the other character, Laryssa, right? I can't see their name. It's a bit early for me, so my brain's still waking up. But she mentions some faction called the Krazura, which are they use the new avian form. Where does it say their name? Yeah, there, Laryssa. They're the other character that was in, I think, Age of Wonders 3, and they were dealing with the Wizard Kings, the Return of the Wizard Kings. But basically, we meet some old faction, the long forgotten civilization, bird-like Krazura, who were forebears and sages in the Astral Sea. They've kind of like been hidden away for some reason, and I guess we get to see more about that. Maybe they chose to isolate themselves on one planet for one reason or another. And yeah, there's also I think another storyline that's focused more on Edward. These images look amazing. Every time I see these dev diaries, I'm like so impressed by the artwork that comes along with them. That looks like a dreadnought flying through the astral sea, doesn't it? Oh boy, that's quite an image. I hadn't seen that right away. I thought it was just something really pretty, like some character wearing a cape or I don't know, gorgeous. Um, and then after that, they get into a lot of the details surrounding the Reaver faction. So we get to learn a little bit about the units, actually quite a bit about the units. The first one they decided to talk about was the magelock cannon, which looks pretty good. And if I click on that, we can get a slightly bigger image to look at. It does 30 damage with its cannon. I assume that's an AoE. 30 damage in an AoE is quite good, and I'm not sure if there would be a cooldown on that. I could see there being a cooldown on that, but I can't imagine having a T3 unit that has to go on cooldown regularly would be worth it. So I'm very interested to see more about that. I think they talked about focused aggression towards the end of this dev diary, but I don't remember seeing anything about heartless or reinforced. Siegebreaker just means that it's good at sieging down cities. You get extra points towards the siege threshold that you need to cross in order to actually attack the units inside the city walls. Siege crafters get construct siege guns, which give you these magelock cannons, so you don't have to build them. You can use them as in a siege project when you're attacking somebody, kind of like the onagers. But I have to imagine these are an upgrade. They're probably a bit better than the onagers, who have a cooldown and they can shoot in an AOE from quite far away. I think it's like 7 to 12 range. So I would expect these guys as cannons. They can shoot as far, if not further, and as well, if not better. These this culture is focused on raiding and aggression, so they get this new resource called War Spoils. It looks a lot like the draft icon. I think it's at the top of the UI near like your gold and your mana and your Imperium, and you can spend them on these Magelock cannons, or you can spend them on things like Dragoons and other things like interactions with cities and I think captured units, which I'm pretty interested to see more about. I think that could lead to players that are in a winning condition winning more, and this game does have a tendency to swing pretty heavily in one direction. So if you are winning, you just win more, and I think that it would be nice to see some more um, counters to uh, just getting that early momentum. I think uh, sitting back and waiting to let other people do some fights can be very strategic and interesting. I guess, these systems are there to make it so if you want to win the game, you actually have to participate in some wars. These guys will not get an unjust war penalty. This Reaver faction gets a lot of unique interactions. They also, I think, can use this war spoils instead of Imperium to interact with cities, free cities. So that's pretty efficient. Imperium is a pretty special resource, and I'm not quite sure how good that's going to be because I don't know, war spoils might be more valuable than Imperium, and it might be a waste to press that button. As some people would put it, it's a noob trap. Don't click it. They also show off the magelock unit, which has a fire heavy magelock that actually does more raw damage than a cannon. So I have to assume it's a single target, and I hope it doesn't have a cooldown. But maybe this unit is supposed to like shoot from 9 hexes away, and it does a lot of damage when you can do that. There was something in the dev diary about how these guys do extra damage to armored foes. So it may be that it bypasses the armor, or it takes that armor value and actually multiplies the damage that it does by the armor value. I don't know. It might just bypass it in a weird way. But I think with the way it reads, it says something about them being good against armor. So I don't know. I think it'd be better than just bypassing it. They don't have a Whispering Stone at the beginning, which is pretty different than everybody else. I always forget to get the Whispering Stone, so I feel like um, this might this might make sense for people who don't like to worry about the Whispering Stone. If you just pick this faction, then okay, you can go attack everybody. You don't need to try and make peace with them, or even worry about putting a Whispering Stone in your own cities, which is good. It does add up over time, but I find myself forgetting to do it at most of my games. Um, War spoils are unique to this. You get that from defeating people, basically cities and armies of other players, not the marauders. I don't think marauders and infestations will give you these points, so there is an incentive to go to war. It gives you an extra special resource that you can use to make going to war easier. Yeah, they say you can extort free cities. You can deal with them in the trade menu, so you can save some gold or mana to get some other resources. Maybe you would have done gold for mana, but instead you can do war spoils for mana, and that will allow you to spend gold on other things. There's also special interactions with the AI controlled empires, which I am interested to see more of. I haven't played against the AI in a while, and this could make waging wars a little bit more interesting. Um, you can tell somebody that was neutral to help you out, or maybe force an ally to get more involved. And combined with the war goal system, where you can spend Imperium to get like your vassals to attack certain targets, and I think maybe you can spend Imperium to get other AI cities to attack other targets. I think this could be pretty fun to play around with. I don't know quite how good it will be, but sounds fun. What else do we have here? Magelock cannons. Yeah, you use that resource to get them. Free cities can spend this to trade, I think, or you can raise the level with them by 1, and it prevents the allegiance from going down or up for 3 turns. So if you have like really negative relationships, you just need to like trigger this every 3 turns. Of course, I'm not sure how much 84 war spoils is, but I think it's quite a bit. I don't think that's nothing. I think it's pretty similar to having like 84 Imperium that you spend on this. What else do we have? Yeah, the trade costs, which I mentioned earlier. Um, you can do a declaration of supremacy, which is different. This will make it so that you have 300 relationships and a relation improvement with them. And while that's happening, the opposing player will not have any grudges affecting their relationships from the grievances. So you can like bypass grievances with this one. It does seem like it only costs 10 war spoils to start, but maintaining that declaration costs 5 war spoils, and once that disappears, the declaration stops giving you the 300 relations and opposing the grievances. So it's something where you need to keep killing things to maintain this, and you probably can't afford to do it with every ruler on the map. There's still quite a bit more on here. They are showing that when you beat another player, you can try and recruit units that were defeated. I assume these are ones that are killed and don't retreat. I think ones that retreat should still show up in your capital, but maybe this is something to do with that retreat mechanic. Maybe this is something that retreated and now you have a chance to recruit them, but if you don't, they run away. I I don't know. It sounds interesting. Sounds like it might be too powerful and off the top of my head, but I haven't played around with it. I don't really know yet. They mentioned something about the Golem patch. Yeah, this is what we were just talking about, allowing you to integrate units. There's this Harrier unit, which is a skirmisher. The skirmisher is going to immobilize targets and maybe make it easier to subdue a enemy. So subdue is not like seduce, I don't think. I believe subdue would make it so it's kind of like immobilized, but probably you can't take any actions. You can't do any ranged attacks or abilities that don't require you to move, right? Right here it says that you have a cast net. That's probably an AoE, but I could see it being a single target immobilize. Melee strike, I don't know if I need to say much about that. It's pretty straightforward. This guy's light-footed, slippery, swift, focus aggression, elusive. I think elusive might be special to this guy, but I think a lot of the other units we've looked at have the light-footed tag and like focused aggression. Yeah, if we look here, it doesn't tell us what subdue does. It shows off that it has a ranged attack that only does five, 10 fire damage, but it's called marking blast, so I have to assume it gives you mark on an enemy, making it so that they take more damage. I believe that's how mark works. There's another interaction with mark that they go over, I think, right here. Yeah, focus aggression means that you get more damage against things that are targeted. So I think that will just allow you to pick off units even quicker if you're able to get marked applied, that is, with maybe like the overseer or a ranged unit, because I have to assume some of them have the markability, kind of like I think it was glade runners could mark people. But yeah, what else do they mention here? I think these guys are close range healers. They can blind and bark. Oh, I didn't see the blind. That's pretty good. uh, so units have to be impaired for them to try and subdue them. I wonder if that makes it so that they're just like out of the fight and you can try and recruit them afterwards. That might be interesting, right? Actually, that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Um, I don't think they mentioned whether or not that those two systems interact with each other. There's also the mercenary, which is a melee unit. It has a knockback, it looks like, or what's that called? A drive back, which moves people around on the battlefield. What does it say here? Yeah, you can disrupt an enemy formation, making it so that people aren't getting the defensive mode adjacencies. You can free up a ranged unit from somebody who's in there, who's got them pinned, and if you once you knock them back, then nobody's next to the ranged unit and they can take their attacks. Generally, these kind of abilities are very useful. It's almost as good as stunning, but um, it serves a different purpose in your army. Dragoons are awesome. I love the name. I love the idea. Uh, they wield a magelock pistol and disrupt the enemy. Their pistols can inflict distracted. Amazing, so good. I love that they describe how distracted works here, even though it's been in the game forever, and they don't describe subdue. I've got so many questions about subdue. I know how distracted works. Um, they also have master skirmishes, which is massive. They can attack, they can move after attacking, so they can run forward, attack, and then retreat, which I think is really going to influence the pacing of battles where dragoons are present, and whenever other units can get the master skirmishers tag. I hope there's other sources of this, because I think that could make skirmishers a lot more viable. I know some people really don't like skirmishers. I think they're okay. I think they can be pretty useful, specifically like ice elementals. I think some people say it's the only good one, but I think there's some other ones like slithers aren't bad. Slithers are good if you can get them to upgrade into the tier 3 skirmisher. What else do we have here? I think that's pretty much it. They are basically, they mentioned that uh, Reavers are Materium and Chaos, and are slightly different like takes on what Materium and Chaos would be. They wanted to make sure there's a good focus on skirmishers and warfare, but if you wanted to, you could turn this into a Renaissance themed faction or even pirates. Fun ideas. I'm super excited to see what people come up with too, specifically strategy wise in multiplayer, and looking forward to seeing what people's thoughts are based on the information that we have so far. I'll see you around. Have a good one.